The shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner marked the third time in nearly 2 years that President Trump found himself under the threat of gunfire. It not only raises concerns about rising political violence, but also questions about the challenges that are facing Trump's Secret Service. In videos like this one from last night, you can see the moment that the Secret Service jumped into action. One service member stood in front of Trump as others continued rushing toward the stage. And in this video, we see the moment that Secret Service members were able to guide Vice President J.D. Vance and Trump to safety. One Secret Service agent wearing a bulletproof vest was hit in the chest and briefly hospitalized. Fueling more questions, new reporting from the Washington Post explains the dinner was not given top security status that would have unlocked the full weight of federal security resources. Joining us now to discuss, retired supervisory special agent and former U.S. Secret Service agent Bobby McDonald. Bobby, thanks so much for joining us. Do you agree with Todd Blanche? Would you say that last night was not a security failure?
Well, I think there's a number of things that we need to look at here. We need to look at the protective advance that was conducted by the advance agents who were putting together the security platform in probably 10 days prior to the event. I think we need to look at the reaction of the details, both the vice presidents, the presidents, and all of the cabinet secretary details there. I think there's a lot going on here that we need to allow the investigation to move forward. Everybody got out safe, absent a couple of twisted ankles and I think some skinned knees. President got out safe. The vice president got out safe. All the cabinet secretaries got out safe. That in itself is a success. Now I think we need to look at the other issues that may have contributed to how this happened in the first place.
Bobby, do you think that it was a problem that this didn't get the special national security event designation? And who would be responsible for making and pushing that call? Are you concerned that Director Sean Curran is really under the microscope now after there have been a few incidents like this as he has been director?
Well, with respect to the NSSC event, there are so many events in Washington, D.C. every week that contain our politicians, our leaders, our elected leaders. I'm not sure that the NSSC designation is a huge issue here. The Secret Service goes through its advanced protocols and its protective methodologies and policies for every event. It's looked at from start to finish, from door to dais and back to the door of the car. All of those things are gone through to make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. Now, the question is going to be here is how did this individual get these weapons into the hotel, and how did he get down to the level there where he was able to discharge that weapon and hit an officer of the Uniform Division of the Secret Service? I personally don't think the NSSC situation would make a whole lot of difference in this case.
Bobby, I'm not sure if you've had a chance to see the response from various agents in different angles from last night, but the president addressed this earlier in an interview with 60 Minutes where he talked about him basically saying to the agents he didn't want to leave right away. He wanted to see. He said, wait a minute, telling them he wanted to assess what was going on, whereas the vice president was whisked away quite quickly and got up and walked away. What is your reaction to the contrast in these two responses? And to the fact that the president, even in his own admission, is saying he was telling the agents to wait a minute, that he may not necessarily have responded to their immediate and urgent request to get up and vacate that area where he was?
Well, I think that slight delay in the president being moved off the stage as opposed to the quickness that the vice president was moved off, I think may have been to allow the heavy hitters there, the big guns there, to not only come on the dais, to make sure that the pathway to the vehicle was clear. I know he was brought to a holding room for a short time. The Secret Service really doesn't want to move anybody to a particular area that they're not sure is clear. So there may have been some radio traffic. There may have been some information that some things behind the dais there were either clogging up the pathway or trying to get the president to that holding room. I think you saw, from a good standpoint, the two protectees of the president and the vice president being taken off opposite ends of the stage to make sure that the two details didn't cross one another in trying to get to a safe area behind the dais.
Bobby, you mentioned the questions surrounding the ability to get these weapons into the hotel. And in fact, the alleged attacker wrote about this in a letter that he sent to some family members that was subsequently published by the New York Post. He talked about being able to exploit that particular security vulnerability. He said, "I walk in with multiple weapons and not a single person there considers the possibility that I could be a threat. The security at the event is all outside, focused on protesters and current arrivals, because apparently no one thought about what happens if someone checks in the day before." What do you make of the fact that this, again, alleged attacker identified this as a security vulnerability, and what kinds of measures could be implemented going forward at events without turning all of D.C. into some sort of police state where everybody has to get, frisked and go through a mag every time they go in and out of a hotel elevator?
Yeah, exactly. I think the Secret Service and the FBI, who will be investigating this now because the Secret Service is a part of the protective planning apparatus for the event, I think are going to want to talk to this individual and follow up with respect to what he put in that letter. I think it's a very interesting point that he raised the flag that, hey, I kind of walked in here unnoticed with some heavy artillery. So I think the Secret Service hopefully will take this issue and will, again, reset, as I think they had to do after Butler 2 years ago, to, again, get better at what they do. The Secret Service has to be perfect at 8 a.m. and get better by midnight. So they're going to have to look at this and see how to build this aspect of things into their protective mission, and how to now cover this potential situation in future venues or hotel lobbies as we move down the road. It's going to be part of the apparatus now, and I think we're going to have to see that we're going to have to be looking at a lot more things here with respect to the protection of our elected leaders in large venues like this.
All right, Bobby McDonnell, thank you so much for your insights. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.